Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, it is now time for the Alan Wayne Show. I'm Epic Voiceover Guy. You know you wish you had the vase and the voice just like me. So ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, I would like to introduce to you the man, the myth, and the legend. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome, put your hands together out there in the internet radio world for Mr. Alan Wayne. Thank you, Epic Voiceover Guy. Thank you very much. My pleasure. Okay. Alright, thank you everybody for tuning in to the Alan Wayne Show. You are way too kind. Thank you so much. Thank you. They're cheering for me, buddy. Get out of here. Alright. So what we got here today is quite a crazy little show. Last 24 hours have been quite eventful, as I suppose, 24 hours are always eventful for me, it seems like. So, we had quite a bit going on today. A lot going on. Today was a day where I was going to meet my doctor. And not for a cup of coffee or a blowjob. I'm talking about meeting my doctor to check up on me after about 3 months. And one of the funny things is that 3 months ago, my doctor went to see me. Now, my doctor and I have this very strange relationship. Like, what kind of relation? You're still here? Yeah. Okay. I guess you can stay. Anyway, so my doctor and I, we have this crazy relationship, okay? He has been just the most critical person of me. And a lot of people are very critical of me. Yeah, because you're a dick. All right. What? Just walk over there. Okay. So now here we are. So my doctor is extremely critical of me because basically I have this really high cholesterol. And it's genetic, you know, I can't do anything about it. You call cheeseburgers genetic? Seriously? Who gave you a microphone? I got my own! That's true. Okay, Epic Voiceover Guy, everybody. So, I go to the doctor's this morning after I do all of my usual chores, you know, taking the kids to school, doing all that jazz. And I go to the doctor, and I'm really hoping that things turn out well, right? I'm really hoping that things turn out well, because I am getting older, and I just had 2 members of my family pass, one from coronary artery disease. And I was scared out of my mind, right? So I start like working out and everything else. This is about 3 months ago. I start working out, I start going to the gym, I start doing all these things. And then I start on this new program, Plexus, which made me leave the show in the middle last time to take a dump. So, you know, that I guess it's working, right? So anyway, so I go to the doctor's, and I park, and I'm wondering, okay, what has changed? Well, I walk in, and I lost 7 pounds. 7 pounds, dude, in 3 months. That's not too bad, considering that I don't even try most of the time. Now, I'll tell you, I'm not eating like cheeseburgers and, you know, hot dogs and pizza like every day. Yeah, like every other day. Shut. I'm going to turn you off. Couldn't turn me on, bitch. Okay, all right, enough. All right, so we got this. So damn it, now I'm off of my train of thought. Okay, here we go. So I go down from 228 to 221. They take my blood pressure. I vaped before I went in, so it was 237 over 186. No, it's just 137 over 86. Not bad. You know, he wasn't worried about that. But he was talking to me about my cholesterol. We were talking about tons of things. And then he orders a stress test for me. And I'm kind of like, Doc, I've had a lot of stress. I'm under a lot of stress every single day. And now you're ordering a stress test for me. Yeah, right. Okay. No, he didn't laugh. He wants to see that my heart is in good shape. He wants to know that my heart is in good shape, and he wants to know that I am doing well. He wants to know that I am doing okay and that I'm at least trying, because him and I, as I said, have a very complicated relationship. He and I go back and forth about my health all the time. He's always trying to show me, like he has this pound of fat in his office. And I'm talking about a big lump of fat. It's just this huge gelatinous piece of fat. And he always do you see this pound of fat? And I'm like, yes, I see the pound of fat. I saw the pound of fat 3 months ago. I saw the pound of fat last year. I know you're proud of it, and I know you're trying to prove a point, but seriously, I know what the pound of fat is all about, okay? I know what it's all about. The pound of fat is basically showing me what is on my body and that I need to get rid of it. I understand that, okay? But he brings out the pound of fat again. He's like, yeah, you've lost 7 pounds, but there's a pound of fat. I'm like, all right, fine. I get it. I get the pound of fat. It's gross, okay? The pound of fat is disgusting, all right? You want me to, what do you want me to do? You want me to say, oh, well, why don't I just commit hiri-kiri in your office? There goes all my fat, right? No, it's not going to happen that way. So I go in there and they take out 2 vials of blood and I get my flu shot. And then I head on home and I head on back to work and I have my day. I don't eat all day and I'm like crabby as fuck at work. And I ran into this lady who was talking to me about vaccinations. And I told her that I got a flu shot and she told me, well, I don't believe I actually don't believe in vaccinating my kids. And I'm like, okay. And she's like, oh, now you're judging me. And I'm just like, ugh. Not this again. Not this again. Not this whole thing where somebody thinks that I'm judging them. But, we'll get back to that in a minute. I just remembered something that happened at the doctor's office. So I'm going to get a stress test. He recommends a baby aspirin for me because, I'm 37 years old and I'm kind of turning into a senior citizen. I'm already on a statin. I'm already on baby aspirin. I'm already on dozens of pills. Dude, I ain't going to make it past 50. Seriously, I'm not going to make it past 50 at this rate. So I guess it's time to either get busy living or get busy dying. So going into my doctor's office, I got to tell you the anxiety is always there when I go into my doctor's office. Because not just the pound of fat, not just the fact that the guy has like my medical charts and he looks at them and he shakes his head and he looks at me and he shakes his head, but the fact that that hospitals kind of creep me out as well. Doctors' offices, hospitals. They kind of creep me out because they remind me of, I guess, my humanity. And they remind me of my mortality, especially when I was going to visit my mom when she was really sick. I mean, that was, you go into a place, that hospital, where everybody's in some condition of dying. Okay? And you walk past these not even really private rooms. They're just separated, like, they have curtains, and everybody's just laying there in the worst shape of their life. Dude, never mind. I will not do that. I got a DNR. If I'm going to go down like to a long disease, just let me go down at home, man. Just let me go down home. I don't want to be in a hospital with all these gowns and nurses every 2 hours coming in to wake me up to check my blood pressure. I am not going to do that. Just, if I'm sick, you know what? I'm going to stop working. I'm going to retire and I'm just going to go home and just, fall asleep. I cannot deal with that. By the way, Apocalypse says he can go to a nursing home and, yeah, nursing homes are great. Palliative care, what about a hospice? I mean, shit, every day at a hospice, you live like you're dying, right? Anyway, so going to the doctors and everything, he wants me to follow up in 3 months, and he wants to do a full physical. I mean, the whole 9 yards. He wants to just put me on every single test that he can muster and that he can imagine. Hello, Jenna from Lot. Welcome to the chat room. By the way, hello to DJT. What's up, Donald J. Trump, Willie, and of course, Apocalypse, the man, the myth, the legend, of course. So I'm going to the doctor's office, and I know I've said that about a dozen times. But have you ever sat in the doctor's office and you look on the wall, and all it is just like it's death everywhere. It's ways you can die. It's things you can die from. And, you know, they have the pain markers and everything else. I've always been one of those people who, like, messes with the tongue depressors and, like, whatever they have out because all the drawers are locked. I'll mess with the computer, you know, and stuff like that. They really don't like that. Maybe that's why he's so hard on me. Maybe it's not that he cares about me. He's just annoyed by me. I don't know. We'll have to see. But seems like he's, you know, he's on top of things. And, you know, I want to be around for a while because I got a lot to live for. So let's hope everything continues to go well. When we come back, I'm going to talk to you about the lady who basically doesn't vaccinate her kids and got really, really offended when I didn't even say a word about it. We'll be right back here on The Alan Wayne Show.
Coming down.
World famous Alan Wayne Show here. Alan Wayne on the air with you this evening, and just discussing my day. I mean, there's nothing really new in the news. Donald Trump's been a blowhard. Kim Jong-un is still a big idiot, and basically the whole world is in the shitter. So that's your news break. And now here's the news. The whole world is in the shitter. Back to you, Alan. Thank you very much. Okay, so today was a very interesting day, as all days are. And it actually started last night, but I'll get into that in just a few moments. A couple of people in the chat room actually have something to do with last night, one in particular, actually, so I'll be mentioning that in just a minute. So I go back into work, and I got 2 bandages on my arm, okay? I got one bandage from the gallon of blood they took out of my arm. And, it hurt more this time. I don't know what she did. I don't know, like, usually the nurses are really cool with my blood, but this one was just like, she said, squeeze a little heart, so I did. They give you a little red heart to squeeze, so I squeezed the heart, and then she jams this needle in there. And it's one of those gravity needles. It's not a suction type deal. It's where they just stick the needle in, and then the blood runs out. By the way, if you hear some barking in the background, I don't know whose dog that is. I got to go out and take care of it. Hold on. Shut up! Missed him. Anyway, so here we go. So where was I? Yes, the blood. Okay, so she's like telling me to squeeze the heart. So I'm squeezing the heart. And then I'm like, yeah, this ain't going to be anything. And then, hello, Debbie. Hello, Debbie. Welcome to the chat room here on the world famous Alan Wayne show. So she sticks the needle in there and I'm just like, gah, what the hell? Just because usually it doesn't hurt that bad. It's like she went like deep into the vein. She went like really deep into the vein. And Debbie Daly says, did Alan just mock me? No, I did not mock you, my dear. I did not. I promise. I've just been on a Phil Hendry kick, so I use the world famous Alan Wayne show. What can I say? I've been listening to him on SoundCloud basically on repeat for the past, 6 weeks. So, Alan, it's what the fuck? And there's Debbie. Anyway, so she jams that needle into my arm, and just to be appropriate, I said, "What the fuck, man?" And then she's like, "What?" And I said, "That kind of hurt, you know?" And she's like, "Oh, don't be such a baby. Don't be such a baby." And now Debbie's saying I yelled at a fake dog. No, that is my dog. That is Boo Boo. You probably didn't hear, but anyway. So I'm going to, like, I'm watching my blood leak out of my body. And that is a very, very, very interesting sensation. If you've ever watched, most people look away when their blood's being taken, but I'm watching it just drain out of my body. And it was a really surreal situation, you know, watching your lifeblood, your life force, the stuff that pumps in your veins that keeps you going, falling into a tube. And then she takes that tube off and, quick as a hiccup, puts on another tube, and then there it goes, fills up. And then she takes that tube off, and then she puts on another tube. And I'm like, okay, I'm here. How much are you going to take? 4 vials. Apparently they're doing pretty much every test on Earth to me. So we're going to see what happens with that. Anyway, so after that, you know, they keep asking me. I walk into the guys, or into the front entrance when I first get in there, and they say, and they say, "Did you get your flu shot?" I said, "No." And they're like, "Okay, well, you might want to do that." And I said, "Okay." And then I walk in, and the nurse says, "Have you had your flu shot yet?" I said, "No." They said, "Why?" And I said, "Because I've had some allergies the past couple of weeks. I haven't felt like it." And they said, "Okay." And then my doctor, "Have you got your flu shot?" Shit, you'd think they were getting paid for every single one. You would think they were getting, like, special stipends for giving people the flu shot. Like 5 times I was asked, did I get a flu shot, before I even saw my doctor. And I'm just like, what is the big deal about the flu shot? Well, I guess apparently my doctor explained it to me. There is a strain of the flu right now that is making its way to the United States, and it's probably going to be one of the worst in years. They've already lost people in Australia. Like, hundreds of people have died, hundreds of people got sick. And it's coming this way. So that's another thing to think about here in California. We have the Zika virus, we have mosquitoes who are diseased, you know, plucking into our skin, and now we have one of the worst flus ever coming this way. That's wonderful. But he told me that the flu shot that they're giving out now fights against that strain of flu, so I'm hoping it does. And what's weird is when you read up on flu vaccinations, you read up on them and you see that there are side effects. Now, have you ever gone psychosomatic? And what I mean by that is that you read something and then you start feeling the symptoms. Like, say you chew a piece of gum and you eat it and it says it's supposed to hurt your stomach. And then you start to feel your stomach hurt. So I'm like, wow, you know, this is kind of weird, because I'm reading on the flu vaccination, and I'm reading on it, and it says, may have minor flu symptoms, muscle aches and pains, fever, I start getting warm. And I'm like, what the hell? I mean, it was instant. I mean, right then and there, it was like fever, boom, warm. I'm like, what in the hell? You know? What the, to quote Debbie, what the fuck? Why am I getting so warm? And then I look at the I look at the other symptoms, and another one says possible muscle aches. And then I start feeling my muscles ache. And I'm just like, this is crazy. Okay, I have to, what I have to do is I have to intervene in the chat room. Debbie, Jennifer is actually an artist who I've met last night, who is going to be played on my Music Underground show this weekend. She is not Bargepull, a.k.a. Barco, a.k.a. one of the regulars in Spreaker chat rooms. She is not she's not a plant or a sock account, which, by the way, Jennifer, is when somebody puts an account on Spreaker to be somebody else. Oh my God, she's going to know that there's a lot of crazy people here. Yes, that is really her. Look her up online. Look her up online by her name. Not only that, not only is she, really good looking, she's got a good voice. So, very talented young lady and very sweet. And I'm actually going to be mentioning her later tonight because last night she and I started chatting, and it kind of something happened, and I gotta put it out there right now. And I got to put it out there in a little bit, but I'm going to continue with the whole flu shot thing. So I have a flu shot, and I walk into work. My coworker, who's admittedly a little bit of a hippie, asked me, about the flu shot. She's all, "Oh, it looks like you got some blood drawn." I said, "Yeah, and I got a flu shot." And she looks at me and she goes, "I don't vaccinate my kids." Like, she didn't say, "Oh, that's cool." She didn't say, yeah, probably a good idea. She's like, "I don't vaccinate my kids." And then she follows up with, "I know you're probably judging me right now. Like I'm one of those people whose dirty kids run around spreading the flu." And I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. Okay, let's back the bus up. First of all, I don't care if you vaccinate your kids. I really don't. And I don't care if you're anti-vax. I really don't care about that. That is your choice. That is your children's choice. That is what you want to do. That's fine. I vaccinate my children because I believe that vaccinations are good for them. And I know in some instances, some people say they cause autism and all that, but so far so good. My kids have had vaccinations and they are doing great. They're rarely sick and they're healthy. And, let's just keep the ball rolling, So I, I was kind of taken aback. I was like, why are you even saying that? Like, are you guilty? I asked her, "Are you guilty about this?" I think I actually said, "Yeah, you're rat vermin kids." And she looked at me all like, like I meant it, but I didn't mean it. So I asked her, I said, "Why the defensive stance?" And she goes, "Because so many people look at me funny when I tell them that I don't vaccinate my kids." And I said, "Well, what does that have to do with me?" This lady that I work with lives in a very upscale neighborhood. And she, I always tease her about it. But really, I think people do look down on her because she doesn't believe in vaccinating her children. Me personally, I don't think that's a problem because my children will be vaccinated. So even if those kids do get a flu and they decide to go to school and spread it, my kids either aren't going to get it or they're going to get a lessened version of it because they are vaccinated. At least I hope. Cross my fingers. I'm doing everything I can to get that, I guess you could say, get that result. So in any case, I was just really taken aback by the sheer, just defensiveness of it all. Like, have you ever met anybody like that who is so defensive and you're just trying to start a conversation and they're just like, I think it reminds me of one time I was talking to a lady and she, we were talking and everything and she looks at me and she says, "I'm married," and she walks away. And this is when I was single and I'm like, okay, you're married. Fair enough. What does that have to do with anything? And I came to the conclusion that it was their guilty conscience. She was digging on me, and she didn't like it because she was feeling really, really guilty about it. So I said, okay, that's okay. Debbie in the chat room says the word "taken aback" is stupid. Well, I couldn't think of anything else. Maybe she was shocked. Or I was shocked, or I was kind of, I don't know, what other word do you use other than taken aback? Debbie also says it's almost as stupid as the word nope. I didn't know there was such a thing as stupid words. I didn't know that taken aback was considered. I would like to know the reasoning behind that, honestly, because I didn't think that any words were stupid. Taken aback, like there are some people, like George Carlin does a whole sketch on speech patterns. And, you know, like this country's going down the tubes is one of the sayings. And he says, this country's going down the tubes. And he says, what do the tubes look like? And, you know, why is the country going down them, or something like that? And also, Debbie hates the word moist. Does it sound worse when I say it that way, Debbie? Moist. Get the bass. Moist. Yeah, it sounds pretty bad. Sounds pretty bad. I don't have a problem with the word moist, though. I really don't. I don't have a problem with the word moist. Debbie says she hates when people say it's coming down the pipe. It's like, what type of pipe are you talking about? Is it a plumbing pipe? Is it a clean pipe? Is it, what is it? I think I found, everyday expressions that don't make sense. We're going to play this right now from George Carlin. Thank you very much, Debbie Daly, for the inspiration. And after this, I'm going to play a song. I'll come back and I'll talk to you guys about a friend of mine who called me last night to ask me about antidepressants. Antidepressants. We'll be right back here. Let's see. Ads. Yes, this is brought to you by that new Tom Cruise movie. All right.
This next thing is about the English language. It's about little expressions we use. We all say, and the little sayings and expressions that we use all the time, most of us, and we never really seem to examine these expressions very carefully at all. We just sort of say these things as if they really made sense. Like, legally drunk. Well, if it's legal, what's the fucking problem? My friend alone, officer. He's legally drunk. You know you can stick it. Well, why do we always assume everyone knows where they can stick it? Suppose you don't know. Suppose you're a new guy. You have absolutely no idea where to stick it. I think there ought to be a government booklet entitled Where to Stick It. Now that I think of it, I believe there is a government booklet like that. They sent it to you on April 15th. Undisputed heavyweight champion. Well, if it's undisputed, what's all the fighting about? It's the quiet ones you gotta watch. You know that one, huh? Every time you see a story about a serial killer on TV, what do? They bring on the neighbor. And the neighbor says, well, he was always very quiet. And someone in the room says, it's the quiet ones you gotta watch. This sounds to me like a very dangerous assumption. I will bet you anything that while you're watching a quiet one, a noisy one will fucking kill you. Suppose you're in a bar and one guy's sitting over on the side reading a book, not bothering anybody, another guy's standing up at the front with a machete, banging it on the bar, saying, I'll kill the next motherfucker who comes in here. Who are you gonna watch? You're goddamn right. Lock him up and throw away the key. This is really stupid. Where are you going to throw the key? Right out in front of the jail? His friends will find it. How far can you throw a key? 50, 60 feet the most. Even if you lay it flat on its side like that and you scale it, what do you get? An extra 10 feet, tops. This is a stupid idea, needs to be completely rethought. Down the tubes. Hear that one a lot. People say, the country is going down the tubes. What tubes? Have you seen any tubes? Where are these tubes? And where do they go? And how come there's more than one tube? It would seem to me, one country, one tube. What, does every state all of a sudden have to have its own tube now? One tube is all you need. What, a tube that big? Somebody would have seen it by now. Somebody would have said, hey, Joey, look at the fucking tube. Big ass fucking tube over here. You never hear that. You know why? No tubes. We don't have tube one. We are essentially tubeless. Takes the cake. You know? Say, boy, he really takes the cake. Where? Where do you take a cake? To the movies? You know where I would take a cake? Down to the bakery to see the other cakes. And how come he takes the cake? How come he don't take the pie? Pie is easier to carry than the cake. Easy as pie. Hey, wait. Cake is not too hard to carry either. Piece of cake. The greatest thing since sliced bread. So this is it, huh, folks? Couple of 100,000 years. The fucking pyramids, for Christ's sakes. Panama Canal, the Great Wall of China. Even a lava lamp. To me is greater than sliced bread. What's so great about sliced bread? You got a knife, you got a loaf of bread, slice the fucking thing! And get on with your life. Out walking the streets. You know, guy gets a parole. They say, now instead of being in prison, this guy is out walking the streets. How do we know? Maybe the guy's home banging the babysitter. Not everybody gets a parole is out walking the fucking streets. A lot of times they steal a car, you know. And we ought to be glad. Thank God he stole a car. At least he's not out walking the streets. Fine and dandy. That's an old-fashioned one, isn't it? Yeah. Say to a guy, how are you? He says, fine and dandy. Not me. I never say that. You know how come? Because I'm never both of those things at the same time. Sometimes I'm fine, not dandy. Close to dandy, approaching dandy, in the vicinity of dandyhood. Not quite fully dandy. Other times, I am indeed highly dandy. However, not fine. One time, 1965, August, for about an hour. I was both fine and dandy at the same time. But nobody asked me how I was. And I could have told them. I could have told them. I could have said to the person, fine and dandy. I consider it a lost opportunity. Walking papers. You know, guy gets fired. You say, geez, poor guy. Well, they give him his walking papers today. Did you ever get any walking papers? Seriously? Believe me, in my life, I got fired a lot of times. You can tell. Never got any walking papers. Never got a pink slip either. You know what I would get? A guy would come around to my desk and say, get the fuck out of here! You don't need paper for that. It's like the Riot Act. The Riot Act. They keep telling you they're going to read that to you. Have you heard this thing at all? Especially when you're a kid, they threaten you. You wait till your father comes home, he's going to read you the Riot Act. Tell him I already read it myself. And I didn't like it either. I consider it wordy and poorly thought out. He wants to read me something. How about the Gentleman's Guide to the Golden Age of Blowjobs? More than happy. I bet you say that sometimes, don't you? Once in a while, you say to somebody, oh, I'd be more than happy to do that. How can you be more than happy? To me, this sounds like a dangerous mental condition. We had to put Dave in the mental home. He was more than happy. One more of these. In your own words. People say that to you. You know, when you hear that a lot in a classroom or in a courtroom, they'll say to you, tell us in your own words. Do you have your own words? Hey, I'm using the ones everybody else has been using. Next time they tell you to say something in your own words, say, Nick Flat Blarney Quando Flu.
Welcome back to the Alan Wayne Show. You just heard some dubstep there from Kenor, excuse me. And you heard George Carlin's little talk about sayings. I want to thank Debbie Daly for bringing that to the forefront. That's always a good time. So to answer a question in the chat room, Jennifer Malott, I have 2 children, ages 7 and 4, both girls, which is, I'm sure, God's way of laughing at me. Debbie, I do not have 6 kids. Well, I might. I did have kind of a roaring 20s. But anyway, so to continue with how strange my day was. Okay, so it starts last night. Last night I am driving out, and as usual, I go get things like, like I always do the running for the house. Because, when my wife gets home, she's tired, she's out of sorts. I'm fully energetic because I work near where I live. So, I pick up both kids and everything else, and I come back home, and it's like, all right, whatever I can do, I will do, because I have the time, the space, and the opportunity. By the way, Debbie says I have 4 boys, but, and they're in the chat room right now. Their names are Apocalypse, Stabby, Willie, and, DJR. So, and Debbie just says I'd pussy whipped. Well, you kind of have to get it in order to be whipped by it. Oh! Ooh, did I just say that out loud? Oh, yeah. So anyway, I got home and she's tired and everything. So I'm like, all right, let's see what happens. Okay. Let's see what happens. I'm going to go out and I'm going to look for something. And, it was a drain snake. Now, I have this drain here at the house that is completely clogged up with food and gunk and everything else. I've tried to plunge it. I actually broke a plunger on it. I tried liquid plumber. It just didn't go in there. Water, vinegar, baking soda, all this stuff. I had this wicked witch's brew in the sink that was making everybody sick. So I'm like, I got to fix this. So I go out and I go to grab a drain snake. And the first thing I think of is the one place that I've ever seen a drain snake, and that's the supermarket. And it was attached to a bottle of liquid plumber. It came with a free drain snake. So I thought, okay, it'll be good at the supermarket. By the way, Debbie says Vic would go to the store at 2 a.m. to buy tampons. Dude, tampons is no problem. I can buy tampons, walk out, with them in my hand. I know there are a lot of guys that have problems with that, but yes, I buy tampons. And it doesn't matter, And if somebody makes a comment, I say, you know what? They're for me. You don't want to know. And they stop. So, anyway, yes, and Debbie says he worked full-time and got up with the babies. I used to do that too. Hell, I would come home from nights drinking. I would come home at 2 a.m, lay my head down on the pillow. Once my head touched the pillow, and I'm like, oh. Because, I had been drinking, so I figured, I haven't been resting. Or, I haven't been with the kids, so I might as well just go. I might as well just go and get the kid. And I had many sleepless nights, but I'm kind of a insomniac anyway. So anyway, so I go out into the night and I go to look for a drain snake. I go to the supermarket. I get a call from my friend. My friend says, guess what? I said, what? He says, I'm on antidepressants. And he's calling me because I am on antidepressants. And he wanted to know a few things about them. So I said, okay. All right, let's see what comes up of this. And this dude is actually a pretty straight dude. As a matter of fact, he seems to be one of the more level-headed people I know. I mean, he has his weird side, and he has his weird little things that he does, but he's really straight. He's got a job. He does responsible things. He's not crazy, or he's not in jail, and he's a pretty straight up guy. And to hear that he was on antidepressants and he's been having problems at his job, this dude, now picture this. This is the hell of anxiety, and this is what I lived through in my 20s. All throughout my 20s, age 20 to 30, this is what I lived through. Imagine this, okay? I would be in a group of people, and if it wasn't people that I was 100% comfortable with, which nobody was somebody that I was 100% comfortable with, I would start sweating profusely. And you try hiding that. I mean, you try being cool when your armpits are spreading like you just pissed yourself. You try being cool when it looks like you're peeing from under your arms. That is anxiety. Or you try being cool and talking to somebody when sweat is dripping from the top of your head. And they look at you and go, "Why are you so sweaty?" And then you get even more embarrassed. And then you start sweating even more. It was terrible. It was terrible. Well, my friend was telling me that he's going through this now. And I did go through that. Debbie says, "Tell us about when you're a wild man doing cocaine and partying." Yeah, that was my 20s. That was my 20s. And I never really actually put the two together. That cocaine could have possibly been the reason. That cocaine could have been the issue. But now that I think about it, it's like, yeah, cocaine raises everything in your body. And I was smoking at the time, drinking, on all sorts of things. I was basically running at 1,000,000 miles an hour. So no wonder I was sweating all the time. No wonder I was so crazy about things. There's a reason that I look the way I do now. There's a reason that I'm losing my hair. I got, $50 shopping bags under my eyes. There's a reason for all of that. And there's a reason that when I'm 55 years old, I'm going to look 75. And there's a reason that when I'm 75, I'm going to be underground. That's because I did a lot of bad stuff when I was in my 20s. And having 2 girls, you pay for that. So anyway, I'm talking to him, and this dude, this straight up dude, this guy who's like super cool, nothing wrong with him, seems to be, cool as a cucumber. That's another saying that probably drives Debbie crazy. Cool as a cucumber. He was telling me that he was having sweats at work and everything else. I told him, well, is anything going on at work? I mean, I used to get real nervous when girls I liked were near me at work, back when I was single, of course, and I would get really nervous about them. And I would look at them and be like, hi, because I didn't want somebody who was... And what was weird is I always had a girlfriend at places I worked. I had a girlfriend at my first job in industrial sales. I had a girlfriend I had like 3 girlfriends at JCPenney's. I mean, it was weird because I was a sweaty mess and I was still getting dates. I don't know how that happened. Maybe they thought it was cute. I don't know. But anyway, so he's telling me all this stuff, and it just flashes me back to those days. One of the worst was when I was a part of a jury. And when I was sitting in the jury room and we were deliberating, and I'm sweating like a madman, and I cannot leave because you're locked down. You can't go anywhere. You have to stay in that jury room. And I'm just like, okay, I'm having a panic attack. I got to go, but I didn't want to say I was having a panic attack. So I would walk towards the window, thinking about jumping out. I mean, it was crazy. Oh, and, Apocalypse just called me cute. Hey, sweetheart. Thank you. Cute blonde men, more like cute bald men. Had to shave my head because, male pattern baldness has overtaken me. So anyway, I'm listening to him talk, and it just sends me back. So I'm trying to help this guy. And, he's describing to me what happens to him at work. And I just said, what you got to do is you got to control your breathing. And that's something, like, if you guys ever have an anxiety attack, I've learned about this. If you guys ever have an anxiety attack, the only thing that you can control, and it's the only thing you ever can control, is your breathing. You can't control your heartbeat, really. Yeah, but it starts with your breathing. If you breathe slowly, 10 seconds into the nose, 5 seconds out of the mouth. What that does is it basically makes you control your actions. And breathing is so automatic for us that it's easy to that breathing will get taken away when the nervous system starts going crazy. Breathing will get taken away and you'll start breathing heavy, and then it's over. You breathe heavy, your heart starts to beat hard, then it's over. I mean, it is straight up over. You are in the full throes of an anxiety attack, and you got to figure something out, or else you're going to end up drawing attention to yourself, which is the last thing you want with anxiety. Is to draw attention to yourself, because you already feel anxious and you already feel like you're going crazy. So the first thing I told him, I said, you got to breathe. You got to breathe, brother. You got to breathe. And you can't let this thing take advantage of you. Okay? You can't let it take a hold of you. You know, and so that was one thing. And breathing, and also to leave the situation. Now, Debbie does tell me that she has panic attacks in the chat room. And I want to know if what I'm telling you is what you've been told before, because this is what I was told. This is what I was told. Is control your breathing, and then find somewhere where you can be peaceful and you can kind of wrap yourself around your mind and just kind of contain it. She says, don't fear, panic, invite it in, and then watch it leave. That is true. That is true. But I think you need a space away from something. You need a space away from something in order to let it go. You can't be in the same situation. You can't be in the same situation and, just panic. You can't be in that same room. I used to get panic attacks like when I'd go to Target. And she said, and Debbie says, get out of your head, go outside. That's true, because I would get panic attacks in Target because I don't know why, but I would be in Target and I would just feel this weird energy and I'd start to sweat and I'd start to panic because of the people that were in there. Maybe I'm an empath of some sort where I feel people's energy, but it was very strange. It was very strange. So I'd have to walk outside. I would be in line and I'd start sweating and I would be like, I'd act like I forgot something, like, oh crap, I got to go somewhere. And I'd go and I'd leave line, and then I would go back and pretend to look for something, or I'd go to the cool section and try to cool myself off, or go to the bathroom and try to dry myself off. It was terrible. It was absolutely terrible. So, I really hope this friend of mine, I really hope he gets the help he needs. I hear he's going to counseling. I hear he's taking these appropriate steps. One thing I've never been to is therapy, and I'll tell you why. When I was younger, Debbie says you were tweaked high your nervous system. Yeah, nervous system is nuts. But when I was younger, I was 9 years old. And actually, when I was 6 years old, I started going to school counselors. When I was 6 years old, I started going to school counselors. And it was really cool. I would get outside of the class. By the way, let me interrupt again. Debbie says, oh my God, Alan, you're me. And I'm going to say, I've never been paid such a compliment in my life. Honestly. Thank you. Because you've turned out very well. So when I go to these counselors, and it was great because we'd sit for an hour and we'd talk. Now, the reason that I did that was because when I was 5 years old, and I found this out later, I was tested for hyperactivity and autism. Weird. Kind of a very weird thing. So I was tested for both of those. And I actually it came out that I was gifted, and I was tested by a number of different people, and they said, this guy is extremely gifted. And that followed me all throughout school. But when I was about 11 years old, my father died. Now, I talked about my dad in the chat room. My dad is someone different. He's the man that stepped up. So, he's the guy that came through. He's the guy that stepped up, and he came through for me. This other man who married my mother and gave his sperm to create me was not a father. He was not a father. So when he passed away, I had this whole... I just thought he was such an amazing man. I thought he was my hero. And he was really a piece of garbage a lot of the times when he was on drugs. And I thought he was a hero. So this guy, is completely ruling my life from far away. And then he's dead. Died of a heroin overdose. Died with a needle in his arm. Tried to take the same dose that he usually did after about 2 years of being clean. Can't do that. So, of course, I go into deep therapy when I'm like 11 years old about this. And I'm all kinds of messed up. I am all kinds of messed up. And the guy is asking me, he says, how do you feel about your father's death? And the honest to God truth about that, I was broken up about it for about 10 minutes. And then I just let it go. I just let it go. I was like, okay, he wasn't around. He was just, some guy who was far off, who we used to visit in jail. We used to go to LA County. We used to go to San Luis Obispo, Chino, several different places. Sometimes we take a bus. Sometimes we take a car. It all depended on how we were doing at that time. My mom lived really rough for a really long time. God rest her soul. She passed away earlier this year. She lived rough a lot of the time. And she gave me the last bit of food so that she could, so that I could eat, and she couldn't, But she always visited him in jail. And so I was told in therapy that I needed to grieve. That I needed to grieve his death, and I needed to feel it, because I needed to do that to get over it. But the problem is, I grieved it, but I kept grieving it. I never got over it. And 4 years later, it led me to a ledge where I was standing above a freeway with my toes over the cliff, about ready to jump to my death, because I felt completely just gone. Because I felt completely gone. And there's a lot to blame for that. I mean, there's a lot of dropped balls and a lot of missed opportunities when I was in my teens, both by myself and others. But the main thing that I hearken back to is when I was 11 years old, and this therapist told me that I needed to feel my father's death deeply. And I think that's where it all went to hell for me. I think that's where it all went to hell for me. So that's why I don't believe in therapy personally. But it helps a lot of people. It really does. It helps a lot of people. So I hope, I hope my buddy gets better. If he happens to hear this show, I hope he finds support in it and knows that he's not alone. And I hope that he knows that everyone, whether he knows it or not, if they knew who he was, is supporting him, because he's a good dude. He's an awesome guy. And, I hope he gets the help he needs. It took me a long time to get help. It really did. I tried exercise. I tried diet. I tried everything. I tried drinking. I tried drugs. I tried smoking weed. I tried smoking cigarettes. I tried smoking cigarettes while chewing Nicoderm and popping Wellbutrins. Okay? I nearly died from that. So I tried everything, and the line of treatment that my friend is going through right now is the line of treatment that I've gone through, and so far so good. I tell you, I could not be in front of this microphone, in front of anybody, without proper care, without proper medical care. I could not be in front of this microphone. Well, now that I've just vomited all my personal stuff up on the audience, I'm going to play a song. And when we come back, or when I come back rather, I want to tell you about a decision that will change my time on the air forever. It's not quitting. It's not leaving. It's not anything like that. But in the last 24 hours, some things have happened that may change everything forever. Be right back on the world famous Alan Wayne Show.
If I were the Prince of Darkness, I'd want to engulf the whole world in darkness. With the wisdom of a serpent, I would whisper to you as I whisper to Eve. Do as you please.
kill.
If I were the devil, I wouldn't be happy until I had seized the ripest apple on the tree.
Now, would you be offended? Welcome back to the world famous Alan Wayne Show, by the way. Would you be offended if somebody called you a real American? I was called a real American today, and it was kind of in a snarky manner, like, well, aren't you a real American? So what I did was, I cranked this song up. Yeah! I think this should have been Donald Trump's theme song when he walked in. You know, can you imagine? Can you imagine he's going to some kind of, you know, some kind of event? Thank you. Thank you. We're going to build a wall. And we're going to put people to work here in America. We're going to make America great again. Dude, I'd vote for him. Comes out to this song. Oh, man. That coworker was the one who called me a real American. She was kind of upset about this because I blasted it. She's like, who is this nerd? We're gonna make America great again, everybody. What you gonna do, Hillary, when Trumpomania runs wild on you? I would have voted for him if he came out to this. Oh, man. Silliness. Silliness. Okay. So, I teased a little bit here that I had a bit of an announcement. And the announcement... Well, okay, people in the chat room are used to my, quote, announcements, because I've had several changes of heart over the years. When I've been broadcasting before, I would be a complete perfectionist. And what that means is that I would set up my Spreaker page. Okay. I'd set up my show or shows. All right, set up, right? I'd start doing my shows. I'd get listeners. Yay! And then what would happen is that I would look at the URL of the Spreaker page and go, I want to change that. You're not supposed to. But I'd make a big stink and I'd change it anyway. And I'd change the whole thing. And I'd change my shows. And then if it wasn't perfect, and if it wasn't exactly what I wanted, and I didn't get exactly the response that I felt that I should get, I'd quit. Just trash everything. Complete scorched earth policy. It would all be gone. And that was my creative process for quite some time. But now, I'm in this mode where I'm like, you know what? I don't have the need to do that anymore. I don't have the need to do that. I don't need to completely scrap everything and start from scratch, because people get pissed off by that. I came to find out. And then they don't come back. And then you end up trying to have to find like a ton of new listeners. And that's a real bitch. I will be honest with you. That is terrible. That is hard to do. To come up with a completely different audience, because you've turned your back on everybody else. It was just my nature, just the way I did things. And, you know, I was just kind of buzzing along, but up. And then I get a message from this one young lady. And she says, do you accept submissions from solo artists? Now, I'd been getting submissions in, you know, pretty regularly, about 5 a day for my Music Underground show. And that show was originally put out on the air to be a show that was going to transition to another network, because I used to be on this network called Music Mafia Radio. And I had to leave the network during the holidays because my mom got sick. My mom had cancer. She had chemotherapy. And I felt it was better that I was near my family at that time and not distracted by anything. So I left Music Mafia Radio. Another example of me leaving something or quitting or whatever. But I think this was a good reason. So I go to start this Music Underground thing, and I think, you know, I need some new talent. So I put some stuff out there. And then this young lady, I'm not going to name names, but this young lady approached me. And we had quite a few conversations, and we talked about numerous different things. She submitted her music. It was good. And it will be played this weekend on the Music Underground show. And then all of a sudden, I don't know how it happened, but things started clicking. My countdown that I wanted to do this weekend, and that I still want to do, I mean, the impressions on Twitter exploded. People are friending me from everywhere. People are coming out of just every corner of Twitter, and they're retweeting me, they're liking me, they're doing all this stuff. They're doing all this stuff because of my music shows. Now, in another time here on Spreaker, I had a network called the Indie Star Network. And it got huge. But the problem was, at the time, once again, my mom was sick. This was back. She's been sick for years. She was sick. Life was hard. I didn't have time to keep up with it all. Unfortunately, losing my mom might be just the best thing that has ever happened to me radio-wise. It's a terrible thing overall. I just want to let you know, it's a terrible thing overall. But, you know, it just, pardon me for a moment, I'm going to play a song.
If I were the prince of darkness, I'd want to engulf the whole world in darkness. With the wisdom of a serpent, I would whisper to you as I whisper to Eve. Do as you please.
Live radio, sorry about that. I saw the number on the phone, and it was my pops, and he never calls really ever. So I was like, oh God, what now? You know, because he called me when my mother passed, he called me when my grandmother passed, and now he's calling me, so you understand why I had to go to a quick break. Anyway, so thank you for your concern. So I had a show called the Indie Star Network, or I had a network of shows. And what it was the Indie Star Network, and I had a regular show called the Indie Jukebox. And what I used to do is I used to have sound drops of coins going into a machine. I used to play all sorts of independent artists. I still have those independent artists saved on my computer. So that went huge, but, my mother passed, my mother, I was so worried about her, and I was so worried about everything that was going on that I couldn't keep it straight. And I was getting the same type of submissions coming in before for that. And I had to abandon it. It got too big. It got too big for that point. Well, now that, unfortunately, my mother's passed, and, I don't have those issues. With everything that has gone on in the last 24 hours, I am reevaluating my broadcasting strategy. Now, this is not quitting. This is not like I'm going to ditch everything and start over or anything. I'm just thinking. The music thing, okay, I'm forming a thought in my head, and I'm sorry for the dead air. I'm forming a thought in my head. And the thought in my head is kind of like, how you're trying to do something in life, and you're moving forward, and then all of a sudden, it's as though you're a part of a river. It's as though you're just like maybe a twig or a leaf or something floating along in the river, and you are directed to a different direction than you originally planned. And if you try to fight it, it gets difficult. It's just the way the current is going. As much as I love coming on here, talking, interacting in the chat with people, putting out a talk show, talking about current events, maybe my calling, and I know I'm putting way too much dramatics into Spreaker, for heaven's sakes, maybe what I'm meant to do is independent music. Maybe that is what my niche is. Maybe that is what I should do. Maybe that is what is going to happen. Maybe that's what needs to happen. I enjoy it. I love the interaction with these different artists. I love being able to get these submissions and talk to people, and I love playing the tunes. All this stuff you've been hearing tonight, they're people that I discovered. All the music that I've been playing have been people that I've gone out and grabbed. Now people are finally starting to come to me and submit music. So, bottom line, I'm going to put it to an audio poll, because my decision making can be a little bit questionable at times. What would you do in my situation? When something is finally starting to work and you're thinking you should concentrate full time on that. What would you do in my situation? Now, the thing of it is I enjoy everything that I do. I'm enjoying everything, and there is no way that I am leaving this platform or that I am going to scrap everything that I've already done. I'm just thinking of moving towards doing just music, because originally the Music Underground show was going to be my way out to, just start working for someone else, because it was the easy way to go. It would transition over to this other network, and that's the way it would go. But you know what? I'm pretty good at this. After talking with several artists, after networking with these folks, I am pretty good at doing this on my own. To the point where it's kind of energized me. It's like, you know, maybe this is the way I should go. And not for anyone else, not for anybody else's benefit or gain, but for my own and for the artist, because I truly know what I'd like to do. Now, there are also people that have been contacting me about taking the Music Underground show onto their channels. And that's another conversation. You know, I'd have to give up some kind of creative control to be on other channels. Would that be something I'd be interested in? I don't know. If I go to another channel, yeah, it's easier. You know, I don't have to worry about people. You know, I don't have to worry about finding, you know, other people. You know, finding other artists. But, you know, I'm having a great time doing it. I'm having a great time networking, and it's working this time. And after a conversation with an artist last night, and a couple different artists last night as well, and conversations today, man, it is starting to gather steam. For once in my 4 years of doing this, things are starting to gather steam, and things are starting to work. I'm getting excited about doing this again. Whereas before it was like, well, I should do it because I've gone to school for it. I should try. I should record demos. I should work to get these positions in terrestrial radio because that's what I went to school for. That's what I need to do. But no, it's like the passion has come back, but it's come back in music. So I ask you, friends, if you were in my position, what would you do? Would you go along with the flow, or would you kind of play it cool for a while and see what happened? That's where I'm at. Because after the positive events of the past 24 hours in regards to the music portion of Alan Wayne Media, there's a part of me that just wants to jump on that. And not get rid of my talk shows, but kind of let them sit on the back burner for a while. And really dedicate myself to this music discovery and dedicate myself to these things. Because I think I can do it very well. I mean, Jennifer Malott in the chat room, she contacted me last night, and you know, she is really good at what she does. And ever since I spoke to her and I spoke to other artists, and people are just like, you know, kind of moving around, you know, like things are just starting to move. We have some reaction in the chat room here, live reaction. Possible to do both, see where it goes, go with the flow. She says, why can't you do both? It's a matter of I have a finite amount of time. I have a full-time job. I have a family. I have these things that I have to take care of. And I have a finite amount of time. Now, my wife is very supportive about this venture. Wherever it goes, she's very supportive. She says, take all the time you need. I will not say anything because I know how much you love to broadcast. I said, okay. So that's not really the issue, but it's a matter of I would like to be a family man as well, you know? But there's also the cross, you know, the cross confusion. You know? I mean, I could do both, but it's like, it's a lot, you know? It's a lot to do both. You know, if I focus my energies on one thing, then I will be able to make that thing super. And if I focus my energy on two things, well, you know, it's like one butt cheek for each thing, and you can't half-ass. But if I use my whole ass on both, then that means I have two asses. Or I could just, you know, sit on the entire channel. Anyway, getting a little bit away from the discussion. So we got votes in the chat room saying to go with the flow. Do both, see what happens. I do know that from some criticism I've received that I need to bring more energy to the microphone. I think I've brought that tonight. I think I brought more energy to the microphone tonight than I have in previous nights. And if anybody has anything to say about that, you just let me know. But I think I've brought that energy, and I think people can tell that I'm excited to do this again. And that I'm ready to, unleash my full mind. I just don't want to go, I don't want to overwhelm myself. Because trust me, I have a full-time life outside of this microphone. And I just don't want to overwhelm myself. The submissions and everything else, that's cool. I can manage it all. I can do it all. I don't want to leave the artists in a lurch. And I don't want to leave the folks who like me hearing me talking in a lurch. But what's really gaining steam is the music. So I'm kind of I'm kind of in both places. So tonight being Thursday, next time you'll hear me will be Saturday. Saturday night, 8 p.m. Pacific, the Music Underground show. Now before that, I do a show called the Unofficial Deep Elm Podcast, which is about Deep Elm Records, a record label, and that goes live at 6. But then after that, 8 p.m. Pacific time is the big show. And from the way it is moving on Twitter, it's practically trending. I mean, this thing is huge. There are going to be people from everywhere on this show. I'm going to be debuting about at least 8 to 10 different artists that night, plus doing the most impressive countdown towards the end of the evening. It is going to be a huge show. And I'm really looking forward to it. But one thing that can't happen in that show is any chicanery, because I got people who don't understand Spreaker, who don't understand the landscape, who are not exactly digging, some of the chatter that goes on in the chat room. It's going to have to be pretty harshly regulated for everybody to enjoy it. And I promise to behave. I just want to be, upfront and honest with that, is that I'm not going to be putting up with any chicanery, any mistreatment. I mean, you guys have been wonderful to Jennifer tonight. She's not a Spreaker head. And you guys have been wonderful, respectful, good folks. So I appreciate you guys doing that. And I would appreciate the same level of respect if you go to the Music Underground show, Saturday night, 8 p.m. All right. So I think that's pretty much all I wanted to talk about this evening. And I thank you guys for being so responsive in the chat room. Thank you guys for sharing the show. Thank you, Debbie, for sharing the show. Thank you, Jennifer, for sharing the show. Thank you, Apocalypse. Thank you, Dennis Deich. Thank you, everybody. DJT. Willie. Thank you guys. Thank you guys very much for everything and listening. I'm going to leave you with something called Sparta by Frankstein. FRNKSTN. This is some trap music to close us out here on a beautiful Thursday night, here on the world-famous Alan Wayne Show. Next time you'll hear me will be Saturday, be the Alan Wayne Media Music Extravaganza. It'll be the Unofficial Deep Elm Podcast, followed by what should be a show that goes absolutely effing nuclear, the Music Underground Show. Keep tweeting, keep retweeting, just keep pushing for that show. Keep pushing for that show. I want to see it grow huge. I want to break Spreaker Saturday night. I want to break Spreaker. So, with that, folks, have yourself a great evening, and here's some trap. Hit it!